From a closet, also known as the Jim McCarthy Voiceovers World Headquarters Studio, this is the JMVO Weekly Primer. Please subscribe, rate, and comment via jimmccarthyvoiceovers.com/podcast. This is episode 12 of the JMVO Weekly Primer, the podcast that enables you to marinate your mind in good stuff every single week. What I want to do is have something out there that enables you to chew on some sort of wisdom for the week. And I try to have people on that have done a lot of big things and believe the same things that I do. And of course, if you're watching or if you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and comment, share with your friends. I want to try and build the podcast up, so I invite you to do that. And today's guest, this week's guest for episode 12, is none other than a longtime friend of mine that I met when I was still in radio. By happenstance, you were a client at the time and you came in, Miss Mignon Francois of the world-renowned The Cupcake Collection, which now has got multiple locations. You're celebrating in Louisiana now because you came from New Orleans, and in 06 you landed in Nashville.
Let's see. I have to go back and figure that one out. I always have to count back. 2004.
2000. Wow. Okay. Right on. So, tell me, you and I started and your story is in video, simply because I met you when I was still working in radio. And typically I had a style of recording clients that, they would come in with their copy and I would, they would read their copy, I would take their copy and I would just talk to them for about 20, 25 minutes. And inevitably I would have sometimes I'd have 8 spots within that 25-minute interview. But man, you talked for, I think, 45, 50 minutes. And Lindsay and I were just floored by your story. It was just amazing, the story that you had. And of course, I said, how do I get you in front of my camera? You have to tell this story in this new thing that I'm doing called VidSigs. And you can find that video. It's on YouTube. But let's give them, the listeners and everybody watching, a brief synopsis in a nutshell of that story, if you can.
Yep. So I believe that you taught me the importance of storytelling. And I was floored. I mean, we were just talking. We were hanging out. I was like, we clicked immediately. I had no idea that you were recording and turning it into a thing. And forever it shaped the way that I told the story of the Cupcake Collection. I think to this day, it's the thing that has the most views. I think it's like, depending on where you click and find it, it's got 10,000 views over here. And it's got
it's like a cumulative 30 billion views right now.
Yeah, it's huge. But basically, I started out of necessity. I really wanted to have field trip money for my kids. And I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was looking for something to do to help make the ends meet at our house. And I heard God say make cupcakes, but I didn't know how to bake, not even out of a box. And so I was like, how am I supposed to do this? And so I went to my daughters who were 10 and 16, and I told them about my idea. And this was my plan for my oldest daughter, who was going to be graduating that year. And they all loved it. And then shortly after we got involved with this, she let me know she actually did have a plan, and it didn't include me. And so she was going back to New Orleans, where we were from, to be closer to her mom. And so her biological mom. And so without the oldest daughter, my youngest baby really wasn't interested anymore. So I got to learn how to bake. I called my grandmother on the phone. Grandma says, put your hand out. That's how much flour you need. Pinch your fingers together. That's how much salt you need. Take these 2 fingers together, use that, put that much butter. That's how she gave me the recipe. And it was there that I realized that this was nothing but chemistry. The chemistry I couldn't apply when I was in college 17 years earlier trying to go to med school. it was the same chemistry that what I couldn't apply then, all of a sudden it was like light bulbs going off everywhere that I could apply this, and this could actually just be chemistry. So I tell people all the time, I'm not a baker, I'm a scientist. And because, cooking at my house is not, an event. Like, I made a post the other day, like, my idea of dinner is potato chips in a bowl. Want a spoon, make it formal. But we started with the last $5 that I had. One of my very first inaugural customers was a neighbor and friend who knocked on the door when I was sitting in the house with no electricity. And there was plenty of times that we didn't even have running water there in Germantown. And back then it was just called North Nashville. Nobody knew it as Germantown. And she said, "Why are you sitting in the dark?" And I told her I was meditating because I was too embarrassed to tell her that we didn't have any lights. But I was an avid Dave Ramsey listener. And Dave Ramsey was always telling people to have a bake sale that they could be debt free. And I wanted to scream that scream. So I was sitting in the back of the house doing the baby steps envelopes, and I had $5 left, and I hadn't fed the family yet. And we were a family of 8 because we have 6 children. And I was like, God, like I only have $5. What am I supposed to do with this? When she knocked on the door and said, "Listen, those cupcakes that you've been making," because when the real estate agents would come, they tear down one house and build 15, across the street from me in North Nashville. I would go up to them and say, "Hey, look, I'm learning how to bake. Will you try this for me?" And they would oblige, and they would come back and knock on the door and ask me for more. So when they would buy something, I'd buy a spoon. They'd buy something, I'd buy a bowl. But it was with her order, it was my first real investment, and there were 600 cupcakes. And so she paid me every time I brought her cupcakes. So I took that last $5 to the store, bought ingredients, turned that 5 into 60, turned that 60 into 600 by the end of the week. And I've been flipping that same money for the past 10 years. Over 5 million cupcakes sold.
Oh my gosh.
We've been voted as the best. It was Yelp and Business Week that voted us as the best cake in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And we've garnered a top 10 ranking in the nation. And that was posted in the USA Today. Mm-hmm. And here we are, from a girl who can't bake, who was struggling just to get field trip money, now has scholarship in my name at the local university here. And I'm helping other kids find their way to their dream, because I wanted to see what I promised God that if He would make me successful, I would tell anybody what they could do if they believe. And now I'm getting the opportunity to hold the ladder of success so that other young people can climb up safely.
Right on, right on. And I remember, especially in the video, and I'll post a link on the finished product when I deploy it tomorrow, the link to the video. It's about an 8 or 9 minute video. It's worth a watch. You should really check it out and get really the innate details. But some of the things that you had mentioned in that video were the flavorings of the cupcakes themselves. Okay. So one of the comments was really a knock your socks off kind of comment about your lemonade, or I believe it was your lemonade cupcakes. Uh-huh. You remember what I'm talking about? Uh-huh. Okay. Talk about that.
When the lady said that it was like her mother had sent it to her because she hadn't had cupcakes like that since her mother died. And they tasted just like what her mother used to make. And she ate that cupcake and she cried. That lady is still a regular at the Cupcake Collection. We will celebrate 10 years of business in November. And to see people, there are people who have been with us for this whole journey, and they're not tired yet. Yeah.
I've been there all along. Come on.
And I appreciate, so much. Like, seriously, I wish I could go back to that video. And I think I've said this to you before. There were so many stories within that story. I would love to see that video recreated again. Like, it was the best piece. And it got so much recognition for us. It allowed the door to be open for people to give us a chance to come and taste it. Like, they really almost could feel it through the video, and you're such a great storyteller.
I appreciate that. But again, it was you telling the story. I just happened to craft it and put it all together. But at the time, it was one of those, I would have to say, a God thing. That it was an urging on my end that Jim, you just need to do this. You know? And you had said that God had told you that people would be coming in and out of your life to help you build this. So...
And that
hopefully
was such a blessing, because remember, I couldn't have even afforded it at the time. And if I wanted to have it, there would have been no way that I could have afforded what you did for me.
Right.
So
I can't remember what I was charging.
I love you guys to life. And what'd you say?
I can't even remember what I was charging back then.
Whatever it was, if it was, $100, I couldn't have done it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I love you guys to life, and I appreciate the investment that you made in the kingdom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for this, because this is about so much more than cupcakes for me. And that's something else that the video ended with, that this is about obedience. It's about what can you do if you believe. It's about healing and renewal. It was the best video ever. People should really go and watch it. I still play it for introduction when I go to places to speak and all that kind of stuff, because it really does just grasp for people what the meat of the story is.
Even the NES story, where they were coming to cut off your electric, and you're like, look, I don't have the money. And they had come by the house several times, and all of a sudden you were just saying, they were like, lady, we came to help you. We're here to buy cupcakes so you can pay the electric bill. I mean, that's just an amazing.
Bill come.
Oh, really?
I just saw Clay a couple of weeks ago. Clay is about 6'7". This man that I was like, look, get off my porch. I don't care how big you are, right? And Clay came by just a couple of weeks ago, and, just still amazed. He's like always remembering. And the guy who was riding with him that day, it was his first day on the job. And Clay said, had he not been with him, he would have never gave us the opportunity, because he had seen people like me before who were like, please, please, please. You're like, look, I have a job to do too. And you never think about that them cutting off your lights is them doing their job. And so no matter how much it hurts you, they have a family to feed too. But the man who was shadowing him that day was a Christian man who had just moved to Nashville from Hawaii. And he said, please, man, I just something about her. I believe in him. And so he's like, dude, I'm going to do this for you. And went on the other side of town and took care of some business. And he came back. I had that money. I got those lights paid. And to this day, they're angels to me and will always be a part of the Cupcake family.
That's amazing. And your story is one that isn't, everybody's got their story in terms of entrepreneurship, especially all the ups and downs. And what people tend to see once you've become a success, that's what they see, but they have no idea what is lurking below the surface of the water. I mean, you see the tip of the iceberg of where you are now, but they don't see the struggle, the doubt, what the heck am I doing? I might as well get a real job kind of thing. And, the continuous ongoing, just that rocky slope going up to this perceived perfect life that everyone sees once the success has happened. You certainly have achieved that. And it's led to other things certainly since then. And talk a little bit about that. You have a new initiative, and you're a perfect guest for this podcast, because the podcast is all about marinating your mind in good stuff. Whether it's what you can derive from this, if it's the entrepreneur that's going through the crap right now and trying to figure out, what am I doing? Hearing your story may make them want to I got to give it another 3 to 6 months. It's just, I just got to keep on going.
I hope so.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, have you had days like that where you wondered, or you were just,
because, when I first, I thought that people were going to just knock the door down. I was supposed to be like the first cupcake place in Nashville, but another one got opened before me. And so there wasn't a lot of cupcake places when I opened. So I thought that, cupcakes were crazy. Everybody's going to want this. Everyone has a sweet tooth like I do, and they're going to knock the door down, and they did not. And I thought that the 3x3 sign that I put out on the porch was a big, like, bullhorn saying, "Oh, we're open," and it wasn't. And I remember getting a call on the phone and being asked how it was going. And I was sitting down in the bakery and I had only made $17 that day. And I started to complain. But then I said, wait a minute. Whatever has happened, God is not surprised. So I'm going to be grateful. He knows. And every customer that comes, he sent them. So I guess it's okay. And it was then that the bakery began to change. It went from $17 days to $50 days to $100 days to $200 days to $500 days. I remember when we got our first 10,000 cupcake order.
Wow.
In one day. And
at once?
At once. And that was one order.
Wow.
And to this day, and we bake fresh every day. We were tired when we went home that night.
Oh my gosh. That
had nothing to do with the other orders that were coming in the store being open, because I just didn't know how to say no to anything and to be closed down and be like, oh, we're at capacity and all that kind of stuff, because we were just hungry. We were hungry to be successful and to put it in the hands of as many people as we could put it in. And if I had to go in at 2:00 in the morning to do it, that's what I used to do. And so that's just one of the stories about, what it was like then versus now. I'm excited because we just opened our New Orleans location. It's only supposed to take us 4 weeks to do the construction. It took us 5 months. We started back in April of last year doing these pop-up shops to get people excited and ready. And so when we finally found a permanent shop, it was only supposed to take 4 weeks. It took us 5 months to open, but we opened last Thursday. And I'm really excited because it's my first franchise. But it's kind of like a quasi-franchise in that I'm allowing people to open the Cupcake Collection with sweat equity. Because I believe that there are people who would love the opportunity to have the opportunity to run their own business, but they'll never have the money. But that doesn't mean they won't have the grit. So they can work for the company in exchange for ownership. And so we're trying out the model with my sisters in New Orleans and one of my very best friends. And I'm her daughter's godmother. So I felt like, what's the use of being her godmother if there's no perks to that? There's no connection to my lineage for that. So I included her, and then my sisters take part in it. So I'm excited for them. They had a celebrity visit them today. And
really?
I was just like a fan. Normally I let celebrities come in and we just pretend like, oh, they're just regular people, because they are. And we want them to blend in and feel comfortable and not have to be on stage for one little section of life while they get what they, something that they crave. And I was glad that, they called me on FaceTime to show me who it was and everything. And I'm glad that I wasn't available because I was the biggest fan today.
Was it like a sports NFL person, or who was it?
She's a huge actress. A huge actress.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was like Drew Brees or something like that. But I know a lot of people talk about, belief systems and what is your why. And one thing we neglected to talk about was the origination of the why of the Cupcake Collection. Do you remember what that was? Why did you start? You felt the need that if somebody wanted a piece of joy, they shouldn't have to pay $4 for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
That idea burdened me, and it still does to this day. We could be charging so much more for our cupcakes. But we don't. People tell us all the time, when are you going to raise your prices? You need to raise these prices. Because the inflation has happened. Man, Jim, it was getting to a place where I was hurting the company because I hadn't raised the prices. My mom was like, either you raise the prices or we close. And I was like, okay, I guess we're raising prices.
It's justifiable.
But we still are the cheapest gourmet cupcake in town, and I think anywhere. I don't know of a gourmet cupcake that costs what ours does.
And the thing is that if you haven't tried this place, and I'm one of your biggest champions, as you all know, if you haven't tried it, it is she's not kidding. Okay, there are other cupcake places that make a cake and pile a bunch of topping on it, and charge you $10 for it. But you go into this place, it is made from scratch, from the frosting right on down to everything's just knock your socks off delicious.
Thank you.
Not a problem. And every time I'm in the area, I have to kind of convince myself not to stop by because of, gotta stop eating this way. But, my wife even, she's like, you've been around the Cupcake Collection, you didn't stop by? And I'm going, no, I should have. Eric White is asking location. Eric, it's in Germantown. Just go thecupcakecollection.com. You'll find it. It's typically right north of the new baseball stadium. So
yes, like we literally could look out our window and almost see it.
Yeah. It's 6th Avenue?
Yeah, 1213 6th Avenue North.
Right. Just right down the road from, what's the place? Nashville. Monell's, right.
And the Little Fish House. Yeah.
And right across the street, you got all the lofts and all those things that are the flats and stuff like that are popping up all over the place. You have the new initiative, and you're big. And I love you. I've always loved you for this because you've always been big on marinating your mind in very good stuff and thinking positive and thinking good. At least to me, I mean, sure, we're all human. We're going to have things that kind of send us by the wayside and throw, curveballs at us. But you've always, and I've had that in the past 2.5 years that I've been doing my thing. And there have been people that have, whether they know it or not, have spoken into my life to keep me on track. Your latest initiative, tell me about that. It's called Find Joy.
Yes. So we're doing Follow the Joy because we're doing, sorry, my phone tried to.
That's all right.
We're trying to follow the joy because I've learned that you can't spell journey without it. So that JOY has to be in there. But we're so busy trying to get rid of the experience that we're in. But what we don't know is the experience is what's taking us to what we're going to need for the future. And that the future is not in front of you. The future is inside of you. And if you can't get joy right now where you're at, then you won't have joy where you're going. And I've learned that joy is about gratitude for wherever you are, however much you have. That in all things you shouldn't complain or argue. That everything is being provided for you to do what pleases the Creator. So therefore, nothing that happens is a surprise to Him. So you might as well get joy in the situation so that you can get through to where it is that you want to go.
Yeah. I mean, you hear a lot of the people out there who have, quote unquote, made it and are very successful. They're perceived as very successful. And they talk a lot about that. You hear Tony Robbins talking about it. You hear Gary Vaynerchuk talking about it. Gratitude. Yeah. Actually, Vaynerchuk talks about waking up and imagining all of his family being dead. That kind of centers him.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do in the morning is I wake up before I turn on TV. Before this has been so wonderful. I learned it from my therapy sessions. And one of the things she said is I talk to God, I ask him a question, and I expect an answer by the end of the day. So I'm going to do that. So before I turn on anything, and while I'm in the dark, I start talking to God. What are we doing today, God? And then I think of a question that I want an answer to. And it's so crazy how it will come to you. And it just makes you feel excited because then you know that you're like communing with the Lord. That he loves you enough to talk to you and tell you what he wants you to do or what he wants you to know, or just to answer your foolishness. God has so much more to do than worry about what I'm talking about, but he wants to. And that fills me with so much joy. So I ask a question every day.
I've had many a session, I'm in the shower and all of a sudden God, I really need to get some sort of money in this week.
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot of money out there hanging and people just not feeling like paying their bills this month for some reason. And they're, 60 and 90 days late. Could we do something about that? Let's just get a few of those things in so I can make my mortgage payment this month. That would be nice,
Yeah.
And inevitably, by the end of the day, I've got most of my AR taken care of. And it's, every single time, though, it happens. Which brings up another story that you've told. You told me about the revelation you had about being in the shower and water falling through your hands. And that was a great
because God was saying, see these drops coming down? I want you to try to catch them. So I tried to catch them. And so he said, okay, hold them in your hands. And so no matter how much I clench my hands together, there's still holes that you cannot see that the water's going to seep out of. And God says, see all those streams? Those are individual drops. And each one of those drops represents blessings that I'm pouring on you. But the only thing that I'm going to allow is for you to keep whatever you can hold. The rest is just to pass through you, be affected by you, and fall on someone else. So I knew that all of it was never mine to keep, that I could only keep what really rested in the palm of my hand. The rest of it was for me to use for someone else's benefit. And one of the first things the first instructions he gave me was to be very generous. So I've lived a very generous life with my time, with my talent, with my finance, because it's been instructed and required of me. And I know that because of that shower experience.
So you see a lot of these things still come. What other stories have you had that you've helped somebody out that you've really been able to pay it forward, so to speak?
Oh my gosh, there have been many, with my team. My team's like a employee's lifespan of Cupcake Collection, about 3 or 4 years, and watching them propel from where they were when they got there to what it is that they're doing now. One girl just stopped working for me, and now she has the business that she dreamed about when she started. Because every day we have to talk about your business. What have you done for your business this week? You should be doing this, this, and that. And so I still call her and say, what have you done? Or I saw you today on social media. Next time you need to have on your own shirt, be in your colors, and everybody should know those colors when they see you coming. It's stuff like that. One of my girls is the head pastry chef now at the Thermitage Hotel. Mm-hmm. When you come through the Thermitage Hotel, you're pretty much going to be James Beard Award winning. It's like anybody who's anybody celebrated around Nashville have come through the Thermitage Hotel. So watching it be a place for people to jump off of, that was always my dream, that this place would be a platform for other people's growth.
What other stories stick out? Again, getting back to the lemonade cupcake one, stories like that. What are the things that you've kind of bookmarked in your head in terms of people saying something that you're like, wow, wow, I really needed
one guy in the video. This guy talks about you're reaching heaven to touch earth. That was a huge one for me because I literally was praying for everything. But just there are so many multitudes of stories of people who said, I've been watching you. I've been following you. Now I can start my business. Now I know what God is telling me to do. Now I know that the reason why I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning is not to check my doors and make sure they're locked, but it's to get up and talk to the Lord and hear what he has to say, and that I have to write this down, and that I have to follow my spirit, and I have to not be afraid. And now I'm not going to be afraid anymore to do what I have to do, because if you could do it, I can do it. There are so many stories. That I got some cupcakes in the mail the other day from a lady that I just kind of like bounce things with. I didn't know her at all from Adam when we first met and started talking, but she had a cupcake store that she wanted to open. I was like, you can open the store, and I'm coming to New Orleans too. And I still helped her with all of my heart, and she loves me and I love her. And for any other intents and purposes, we are competitors. No, you know what I mean? Because we're like a family in the business of it, because if either one of us were the only one in the city that was providing this service, we couldn't handle all of the business that it would bring. So to have that I'm basically building my support system by helping other people do well. There's just so many stories like that. I can't even tell you how many of them there are, because God told me that people will come back and bless my business. They will bless him and pray for my business success because of my obedience to him. The stories are abundant. Like I can't even tell you to begin to scratch the surface on what they are, and how many people have done things for me because of the obedience they get to watch.
Well, that's kind of the way I felt. That's for sure.
And it's something so wonderful for me that propelled me, and hopefully bring something back to you, in the meantime.
Well, it's exciting to see how you've also become like, I don't know, I hate to put it this way, but I mean, you are almost like the darling of the Nashville business community. I mean, a lot of people love you.
Like, I truly feel that. I always tell people this. I was New Orleans raised, but I was Nashville made. Of that. Like, everything that I was came from the culture of New Orleans that made me. You know what I mean? But what I did with that happened in Nashville. And I just think I couldn't have gone back and do in that city what I've done here until I'd done it here. You know what I mean? Even Jesus wasn't respected in his own town, So I just, Nashville has loved me and has loved my family and has opened its arms for me and done so much, so much. I'm just so grateful, and I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. Like, this is a place to start. I heard somebody say that Nashville is not a place, it's a time. Because never again will these people be together doing what we're doing ever again. And that makes us all pretty cool. To be the it city because all of us are here together doing it. I'm so glad to be here for it.
But you got all these Northeasterners coming down and ruining everything, I mean, it's
a lot of Westerners coming too.
True. I say that only because I'm from the Northeast. I can say, and I'm from the West a little bit. Pardon me for my lung butter.
And raising the price of our, of living. But,
yeah, that's the other thing, is that you bought in Germantown. Oh my gosh, talk about hitting the jackpot.
Right?
Yeah.
And $40,000 condemned.
What's that?
I bought that house for $140,000 condemned.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And if I can tell you the value of it now.
There are a lot of people that tell you to leverage the value of that and start buying some condos or something, man.
Yes. This is what I know. All things work for your good, no matter what it looks like. No matter what it looks like. All things are working for your good. If the promise is all things are working for the good of them that love the Lord, then that doesn't mean sometimes. That doesn't mean some things. That means that all things, even living in that house with no electricity and no water much of the time, and living it in its condemned state while we scrape money together to do different things. When we moved into it, it was 2 rooms and a bathroom, a half bathroom, which was a toilet and a tub. That's the way we lived there, because that's what we could afford to get ready with the amount of money that we had. And then we worked, and then we bought what we needed. And in the process of this time, after 21 years, we got a divorce, because when you become successful, you will lose people. And sometimes you lose the people who promise to never leave you. But this, all things are working for my good. I was a stay-at-home mom trying to make ends meet, but God said, I have something for you. And he blessed me and allowed me to have this that I could use to take care of myself. And so now I'm going to use this thing to take care of other people too.
Yeah. I mean, every time I talk to you, I have like a hair raising on the back of my neck moment where you're almost bringing me to tears. And I was going to ask you, hey, somebody that's going through the crap and they're doubting and everything, what would you say to them? I think you just said it just now.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings to mind something that, I've been privy to making memes of things that I say with really prolific pictures of myself. It's so narcissistic. But I mean, it's what, everybody seems to be doing it, If no one's going to do it for me, I'll do it for myself. What the heck? So I had this one little epiphany a couple of weeks ago. My son was playing his soccer game, and he's in the Red League in the Williamson County Soccer Association, and all the kids have fun. The team last year did really well, but they were in a league below where they are now, and to put it plainly, they're getting their butts kicked this season. I mean, they haven't won a game, but they haven't had subs, and they're tired in the first 15 minutes, and I get it. But it dawned on me that despite this one game that I went to go see, they had no subs. They were playing the whole hour, just running their butts off. Against a team that was I think they scored like 10 points on them, but they still managed to defend really well and score 2 points on the other team. And it kind of harkens back. All of a sudden I said, sometimes when we feel like we're failing, it's when we're being forged. And it really kind of came to my head, just popped right in. And I'm like, wow, I keep all these little ideas that I get on my phone. I'm like, I got to write that one down. Yeah. And, it's same thing that you're talking about. You got to realize that everything you go through in life is a forging.
Yeah.
Trial by fire, In 2013, you remember this about me. I went into the car business of all things. What was I, nuts? People are going, you had a great career in radio. You were good at it. What happened? I'm like, I had to make money for my family.
Mm-hmm. Did I go out on you now?
No. You're still here. So I had to make money for my family and make better income, and I had to do it with what I was able to do. I always actually wanted to be in the car business and sell cars, oddly enough. But for the first 3-4 months of me doing it, I was wondering, what the crap am I doing here? Mm-hmm. But I look back on that.
All things are working for your good, and somehow in that it prepared you for something else that you needed, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really did. It was a trial by fire for sure. I certainly grew in that experience. I tell people all the time it helped me to learn how to really sell and embrace the notion of selling. It introduced me to a lot of other influencers who I follow now. And even, getting out of that and getting into other businesses and getting just even honing my marketing skills, it really has kind of nurtured me into a whole different being, I guess you could say, a new level of maturity. Mm-hmm. So where people are coming to me, asking me what they need to do, and I get to look at their businesses from the outside of their bottle and say, okay, I know exactly what you need to do. You need to do this.
It's so easy for you.
It is. I just can't do it for myself. You know what I mean? I'm inside of my own bottle. Can't read my own label. As Coach Burt says, he says you can't see the picture if you're inside the frame. But I mean, we've all had these experiences that shape us and bring us to a point in life where I think ultimately, like you said, is to have gratitude. Mm-hmm. My buddy Rich Redmond, my drummer friend, who I think you might know him. He wanted to come up with a product called a rock with the word gratitude on it.
I don't know. I'm sorry to interrupt you. My child keeps calling in a row, and so I don't know if you can tell that I keep getting knocked out.
Well, I'm gonna wind things down here. So I'm being that it's a podcast about marinating your mind in good stuff. What do you marinate your mind in every day?
Trying to find the joy.
You try to find the joy. I can. Yeah.
Yes. Trying to find the joy in the journey. That's what I'm looking for every day. I'm looking for the lesson. Like everything that's happening is working for my good. I was driving on the street the other day, and I said, "Hi, Mom." And she said, "Why are you so happy?" I said, "Because it's got to be working for my good." And she was like, "Oh no, what happened today?"
That's a good way to look at it, though.
Yeah, that's what everything that's happening, I am trying to be happy. Because to be blessed, blessed is just the Greek for fortunate or happy. So I'm just trying to be happy in everything that I do.
Right on, right on. Well, Mignon, it has been fabulous having you on. We really need to do something more often.
Yes, I agree, because we work so well together.
We do.
You bring out the best in me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Where can people find you on social media and things of that nature? Where do you want people to go to find you?
I have the Cupcake Collection. At Twitter, we are Cupcake Tweets. And on Instagram and Facebook, we are the Cupcake Collection. If they want to learn about the joy, or hashtag follow the joy, or hashtag Mignon Francois joy, they can always go to my Instagram page, which is mignon.francois. I have a website coming soon, which is mignonfrancois.com, where, we are celebrating all things happy, because I just feel like, I practiced this smile as a little girl, trying to get it as wide as I can to see how many teeth I could show when, when I was doing it. And so I perfected it over the years. But sometimes, I just walk up to perfect strangers and smile with them and talk with them, just because maybe somebody didn't do that for you and you needed that today. So that's what I'm doing. And that's where they can find me doing it.
Right on. Well, Mignon Francois, the Cupcake Collection, you know where to find them. We'll have all the information down below in the description. And, of course, with the JMVO Weekly Primer, we're going to try and keep this going every week with a guest of sorts. I mean, because there's only so much I can say. I love having guests on and having the natural conversation. That makes a great podcast. Thank you for being on. For those of you listening, please subscribe, rate, and comment. And definitely let me know if you have a guest in mind that I should be reaching out to. Let me know. Absolutely let me know. Mignon, thank you so much for being on with me.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you as always. And we got to come by for some cupcakes sometime.
Yes, I was going to say, your kids deserve cupcakes. They're graduating high school tomorrow. I mean,
come on. Thank you so much.